Okay. Good afternoon to everyone. Welcome to this webinar about foam suppression system. Thank you so much for giving your time amid your busy schedule in your work right now, work from home, or maybe some of you went to physical work already. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is maybe we'll start by, getting Engineer Dakanay to welcome everyone. After that, he will introduce the speakers, and the speakers will go through as per the flow of the topic. Yeah. So okay, I think we can start now. Engineer Dakanay, sir.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. On behalf of PSME 69 Singapore chapter, we would like to welcome all the PSME chapters in different parts of the world, either in Philippines, UAE, Middle East, wherever. And for this webinar on design and selection of equipment for the foam suppression system. So on behalf also of PSME 69, I would like to acknowledge the presence of our current president, Mr. Rosario Torre, and our past president, Donny Gabriel, and other past presidents that are joining at the moment for this webinar. I will pass to Engineer Torre now for the opening remarks.
Okay, thank you, Chairman Florante, for welcoming the participants. Okay, a very good afternoon to you all. It is my pleasure to address the opening of today's webinar on foam suppression system. I hope you can get a valuable lesson from this webinar. And then if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. And our experienced speakers will give the answers the best they can. Enjoy the webinar. Good afternoon.
Okay, Sir Florante, you're okay. You're unmute, sir. You unmute. Okay.
Okay. I would like to introduce one of our speakers, Mr. James Abarca. He is a registered mechanical engineer and an officer in the PSME 69 Singapore chapter. He is a member of the Institute of Fire Engineers, London, Singapore chapter, and has 20 years of work experience in the field of mechanical engineering in various projects in Dubai, Qatar, Indonesia, Vietnam, Singapore, and the Philippines. He was involved in projects like the liquefied natural gas plants, power plants, chemical plants, paint factories, MRT mix development, hospital, airport, and commercial buildings, and maybe etc. So I'm giving now the floor to Mr. James to introduce Mr. Abhishek and Mr. Kiran.
Okay, thank you, sir, for that introduction. By the way, later on, if you have any question, please you can direct to me in the chat screen. You can click the arrow down and choose for my name, look for James Abanca, and then so that I can filter myself your questions, and I will forward to everyone who can answer the question to either me, Abhishek, or Kiran. So anyway, on your screen, the Technical Committee of the Philippine Society of Mechanical Engineers, Singapore chapter, in collaboration with FireTech, they are the specialists for foam suppression system based in India, presents technical webinar in designing of foam system and selection of equipment. The aim of this webinar is, number one, to have a basic understanding of fire, its classification, and the principle on how foam suppresses it. And number two, to have an overview of foam concentrates, its type, its application with respect to hazard, foam expansion rates, and foam application rates. Also, we can have an overview of design and selection in foam suppression system. And finally, we can have an understanding of various applications of foam system. So after the webinar, everyone is expected to have at least the idea, the view of all these 4 items. Yeah? Then, oh, sorry. Wait. Where's the screen now? Abhishek.
Just give me a minute. There was a bit of a
technical glitch, a small thing. Yeah, we'll just easier.
So I can control, right? Yeah, I can control. You maximize the screen?
yeah, I'm just doing that.
Oh, okay.
Can you see it?
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Apologies.
Okay, no problem. So I can, yeah. Okay. So these are the speakers for today. I myself, then second is Mr. Kiran Rain. Mr. Kiran Rain is, I can control the page, Abhishek, right? Maybe I request for control. Okay. Okay, now I can control. Okay. Okay. Wait. Okay, I'm controlling. Wait, better Abhishek, you can control. Sorry, I cannot control here. Okay. So Mr. Kiran Rain, again in this space, sorry for that technical thing. He has more than 15 years in designing, manufacturing, engineering foam, water, and DCP systems for complex and critical hazards. He has a core experience in engineering, cost effectiveness, and performance-based solution. He spearheaded more than 500 designs and engineering assignments, passionate about offering customized solutions, and loves deep sea diving. There's a lot of this in the Philippines. Okay.
Yeah, sure. So I'll be there to have a deep dive.
Then Mr. Abhishek, next page, is our Chief Executive Officer of FireTech. He's over 12 years of experience in the EPC, manufacturing, and strategy consulting domains, expertise in strategy formulation, business development, and operational movement. Published several white papers in leading publications on firefighting strategy and Industry 4.0. And is passionate about customer delight. So, next page.
So
yeah.
yes, thanks a lot, Engineer James. That was a wonderful introduction to me and Kiran. Thanks a lot, Mr. Engineer Tore, Engineer Dikane, for your warm welcome and giving us this opportunity to address this wonderful audience to here today. I will just dive into the topic, and the topic for today's discussion is designing of foam system and selection of equipment. Before we get actually into discussion, because all of us know firefighting is a very niche and specialized field, and especially when you talk about foam equipment and foam systems, it's the amount of people or amount of engineers doing it is probably even total maybe less than 1% of total engineer population. So before we get into topic of any fire extinguishing systems, fire extinguishment systems, and how those works, let me extinguish any doubts any of you have that why we are the right people to talk about this topic. So I will just give you a brief introduction about us. So FireTech is a team of passionate engineers. We are all passionate engineers committed to solve customer challenges, and we have been doing this with our expertise and experience for over last 25 years. Till date, we have designed and installed about more than 5,000 foam, water, and dry chemical based systems. So we are a manufacturer and a designer of all sorts of systems. As an engineer, all of us know that processes, procedures are as important as the outcome or the final product. And we too at FireTech believe in that. And hence we have set up a very meticulous processes. And we have got ourselves audited and certified on ISO 9001, 14,001 and 45,001 from Bureau Veritas. We have state-of-art design, engineering, manufacturing, and testing infrastructure. And when I say each of them, we have a specific infrastructure focused on each of those words. So we use latest softwares of PipeNet, SolidWorks, CAD/CAM softwares, also the transient analysis softwares to ensure that whatever product or the design that we do are optimum designs. We have a team of expert welders and high precision CNC shop to help us manufacture equipments and goods which are world class. And we have a testing facility which complies with all UL and FM requirement. In fact, in India, all UL testing for our products happen at our own factory. So we don't have to send our products to UL laboratory separately. Today, FireTech is Asia's largest UL listed foam equipment manufacturer. So not only in India, but we are the Asia's largest manufacturer. We export to about 4 continents, including North America, Europe, Africa, Middle East, and Southeast Asia. We were the first guys in Asia to obtain UL listing on bladder tanks with both type of foams, AFFF and ARAFFF. And this is quite a unique achievement. Obviously, this has happened few years back, but we were the first guys, and which demonstrates our engineering capability. We have been felicitated by UL for fastest supply of 500 bladder tanks across globe as the people who have been recognized by UL. To just sum up, we are the pioneers of foam systems in India. We are known as recognized as experts in foam systems all across the world. So even today we get queries right from Middle East to Europe on different foam systems, and we relish the solving the difficult or unsolvable problems. Today we are a very young team. Maybe probably the average age of our company is close to 35, and we believe in learning today. And in Hindu mythology or Indian mythology, it is said that knowledge sharing is a part of learning. And today that we take this opportunity to share some of the knowledge we have gained because of our experience and expertise to share with all of you and enrich all of us. Uh, with that, I move on, and James, you can probably take forward, and we come in as in when required. James, over to you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Just help me with the control, yeah? Okay.
Yeah, sure, not a problem.
Now, before our specialists will go through the detail on the foam suppression system, wherein they were going to talk about, design selection equipment, application rates, all those foam proportioners, bladders. Let me go through first on the basic, okay? Basic. It's good to understand the basic before we go to the complicated one. It's always the basic that will give us the full knowledge. Now, as you can see here, this is the tetrahedron of fire. For fire, next, Abhishek. So what is fire? So fire, it has basic elements. Number one is fuel. It is the material that burns. Then we have the oxygen. It is the one that oxidizes the fuel to release energy. Heat, it initiates and sustains oxidation process. And the chain reaction that combines these three sustains and propagates energy release. So with taking out any one from here, either fuel, you take out the oxygen, or you don't apply heat, there will be no fire that's going to be extinguished. So I hope this basic is very clear to us. Next page. In order for a fire to burn, there must be a material to burn. And this is referred to as the fuel. So fuel is any kind of combustible material, including paper, oil, gases, fabric, etc. Now, let me just tell you this basic thing. How did a fire ignite? if you can see on the screen, let's say the fuel is a paper. Paper, originally the molecules are intact to each other. Upon applying heat, these molecules will separate or will loosen and further, apart from one another and becoming gas. That gas molecules itself, when exposed to air, it has the oxygen, that's the one that's beginning to burn. Okay, and later on, you can see that is where the foam is coming in to blanket that vapor and the fire. So after fire, there are different types of fire. Type A is a fire, a combustible fire that has a wood, paper, and cloth as a fuel. Type B is a flammable liquids, gasoline, propane, and solvents. Type C is a fire that created by electrical equipment due to computers or machinery. And type D is a combustible metal such as magnesium or lithium. And type K is a cooking media such as oil. The foam suppression, the foam itself will come to type B. So next click. So the foam is the one who is responsible to extinguish the type B fire. Yeah, okay. Then from there, it involves two types of type B products classified B, hydrocarbons and polar solvents.
James, nawala ata yung screen mo.
Nawala screen ko? Oh. Meron na? Wala pa, sir?
Okay, meron naman.
Meron.
Sa amin, meron naman.
Meron naman po.
Meron naman.
Oh, meron. Saan yun, sir? Yung wala? Baka internet, no?
Baka internet lang siguro.
O baka na-delay yung internet. Okay, so I will continue. Okay, where am I now? In hydrocarbon and polar solvents. Okay, hydrocarbons, these are principal constituent of petroleum and natural gas. Fuels and lubricants as well as raw materials that, such as fibers, rubbers, explosive. Example of hydrocarbon, you can hear me? You can hear me, right? Okay.
Okay naman.
Yes,
okay.
I can hear you.
I saw my screen unmute the speaker. Okay. Natural gas and fuels, compounds like methane, butane, propane, and hexane. In a polar solvent, okay, this is a liquid with molecules that have a slight electrical charge. Examples of these are next. These are the acetic acid, methanol, ethanol, and butanol. Both hydrocarbon and polar solvents, these are highly flammable and combustible, fuels or liquids. Next. Okay, what is foam? As you can see here, foam is being produced by, first, there is foam concentrate combined with the water, as we can call the foam solution. When this foam solution being agitated through air, there comes a foam. Later on, you can, you can see, you can understand equipments that usually does this function, okay, next page. Okay, how does foam extinguish fire? You remember a while ago, I'm talking about when fuel is heated, it will create a vapor. So what happens is, foam comes in a way like, when foam is being applied, they will create a layer of foam. This layer will isolate now the air outside, including the vapor that is formed here from the fuel itself, so that continuous fire will not push through. Okay, so in other words, there is a blanketing, blanketing that is happening here of the fuel from the oxygen. You remember our triangle of fire? It needs an oxygen to have a fire. So from this case, it eliminates the oxygen. Therefore, there is no fire. And one more thing here is the fuel is being cooled down by the water drainage of the foam. You will know more about that water drainage later on as Kiran will go through in his technical detail discussion. Next slide. We have types of foam. For firefighting foam, we have organic and synthetic. Okay. Under organic, we have the FP or FFP. Later, I'll tell you what's the meaning of this. ARFFP, 3%, 6%. Same thing in low and medium expansion and high expansion. Then next page. Protein foam, that's the FP. This is a foam that is composed of biodegradable materials. Okay, and they flow and spread slower, but provide a foam blanket that is more heat resistant and more durable. Next. The FFP or the fluoroprotein foam. This is a combination of protein-based foam derived from this protein foam concentrates and fluorochemical surfactants, meaning this foam, it reduces the surface tension. That's why this foam has a good flowing movement. Okay, next. Next is the AFFF or the aqueous film forming foam. This is a foam consisting of fluorochemical and hydrocarbon. This is like the improved, FP and FFP. It is designed for rapid knockdown, but sacrifices heat resistance and long-term stability. Next. The FFFP or the film forming fluoroprotein. This again is a foam with more advanced fluorochemical surfactants. It is a combined burn-back resistance of FP and the knockdown power of AFFF. So it's a combined of these three. Finally, there is ARFFF. What is ARFFF? This is the alcohol-resistant foam. Okay, the alcohol-resistant foam is the latest foam that's being manufactured. It's a synthetic foam, wherein this foam can be applied in both hydrocarbons and polar solvents. So if you can see in this figure, normally if they use the AFFF foam in here, what happens, because it has a rapid, rapidly spreads across the surface, thin layer will happen. But when we use on polar solvents, that thin layer can easily be broken down. So that's why ARFFF was being introduced into the market. This ARFFF can resist the solvent from destroying the foam blanket. Okay, in a sense, it's more viscous. Okay, next. This is the ARFFF aqueous foam. Is a combination of synthetic stabilizer forming agents, fluorochemicals, and synthetic. Like I said a while ago, today's most modern ARFF foams can be used on both polar solvents and hydrocarbons. That's why most of the solvents that they're being considered is they opted to go for alcohol-resistant foam. So we go to the chart. Next. If you go look at the chart, the foam are being categorized and checked based on this property. Does it have a knockdown property, heat resistant, fuel tolerance, vapor suppression, or alcohol tolerance? If you look at every type, so far, ARFF has the best property of all. That's why most of the applications go for ARFF. Next. And then the foam expansion types. Okay, you just tell me if I'm so fast. It's okay. Okay. After knowing those classification of foam also have expansion ratios. Okay. For low expansion, it is up to 20 times. For medium expansion, it is up to 200 times. And for high expansion, it is more than 200 times. Next. The meaning of this expansion is this. For example, you have 100 liters of water. You add with the foam concentrate premix that gives 1,000 liters. The expansion ratio will then be 1,000 divided by 100, which is 10. So it belongs to low expansion foam. Okay. So next. Yeah. So those are the basic of foam. So you were able to know how it extinguishes fire. You were able to know what are the types of this foam and what are the foam that is really good to use in the market now, and you were able to know the expansion rates of foam. Okay. Now, for the next topic, there will be an overview of the NFPA and a more detailed explanation, discussion on the equipments, okay, and application rates and so forth about foam suppression system. And this will be under Kiran Rain, the managing director of Firetech. So Kiran, I give you the floor.
Okay, thanks, James, and it was wonderful to explain the basics of fire because you know it's always good to build on the basics. Am I audible, James?
Yeah, you can hear you.
Yeah, perfect. So James, thanks again, and I would like to take it further from here. So very good afternoon to all of you. Now, basically, we all know that NFPA is nothing but National Fire Protection Association, which is based in USA, and they have been formulating basically specific standards related to the different type of fire protection systems which are existing today in the industry. And NFPA 11 has been one of the oldest standards with respect to the industry, and it covers the low expansion foam systems, medium expansion, and high expansion foam systems. This this edition was first published in 1921 by the NFPA committee, and there have been several editions as of now. And the current edition is 2016. We expect that 2020 would also be soon published by NFPA. And this is one of the most referred standards globally. It has been referred by various firefighting professionals, right from designers, consultants, HSE officials, as well as certification agencies like ULNFM. So this standard also covers about how to measure the performance of a foam system, and major approval standards have been based on NFPA 11 specific to the foam system. This standard basically addresses the 5 critical issues. The first being the design, how to go about designing the different type of foam systems, again with respect to every hazard. What should be the specification and plans for a foam system? The installation requirements with respect to how to install the system, how to what is the environment in which the system should operate, what are the operating parameters. The most important part is the testing and acceptance. Designing of a foam system is one thing, but ensuring that the foam system is able to perform and give the desired the design performance is the most of the appropriate is of utmost importance, because ultimately the foam system is designed to perform. And most of the times this is as per my experience, I found that testing and acceptance in some of the sort of geographies has been on a lower context, and this is where we are experts in taking responsibility right from the design stage to the commissioning stage. We also depute our engineers globally wherever it is required to commission a system with respect to the design parameters, and we also sort of give a test report related to it. And the last part, not the least, maintenance. That is also one of the most critical part of the foam system to be followed once a system is installed, because fire never comes with a warning. You know, it comes at a moment, and if you have a system well maintained, then it is bound to perform and sort of suppress or extinguish the fire, or at least control the fire. Yeah, Abhishek. So basically, there are various hazards protected by NFPA 11. See, NFPA 11 is a very extensive standard. Actually, this whole webinar of 1.5 hours cannot cover the complete in detail design aspects and all the hazards which can be protected by NFPA 11. So what I have done is, we have classified the foam system based on the expansion values, because that is how people specify a system, either to go for a low expansion, or to go for a medium expansion, or to go for a high expansion. Now, low expansion foam systems are those systems where the expansion value is limited up to 20. So basically, any expansion, so the expansion value is determined by the foam discharge device, which I will come to later. So the expansion value is basically the output of the foam system, which is applied to the fire. So if the foam is expanded less than 20 times, then there are various hazards with which you can protect using low expansion foam system. So examples are storage tank protections. And these can be hydrocarbon storage tanks, or this can be polar solvent storage tanks. Dike and bund area protection. This is used majorly in the chemical industries and paint industries to protect the dike in case there is a spill of the flammable liquid into the dike, which is quite sort of recurrence in chemical and pharma industries. So this system helps you to sort of suppress a fire in the dike. Warehouse protection, where you have storage of flammable and toxic and hazardous liquids. Process platforms like offshore process platforms or even chemical facility process platforms. Helipad protection also comes under low expansion foam systems. Aircraft hangar protection can be either classified as a low expansion system, or you also can provide high expansion foam system. Offshore platforms, oil jetties and LNG jetties, which are used for unloading of hydrocarbon fuels and LNGs. Tanker truck loading facilities, which is quite common, where the distribution and logistic facilities of oil company are present, and hydrocarbon as well as chemical pumping stations. This is also one of the hazards where you can provide low expansion foam systems. So the next category is of medium expansion foam systems. So medium expansion foam systems are those where the expansion is within the value of 21 times to 200 times. Now here, medium expansion foam system was found to be very useful in a Buncefield fire in UK, which was one of the largest fires in Europe. And there, one of the fire equipment manufacturers used medium expansion foam systems to cover the dike spills, and thereon dike protection as being one of the major areas. So medium expansion has actually benefit of both the low expansion as well as high expansion. So low expansion, so the advantage is it has a high volume of foam production because the expansion value is high, and secondly, it fills up the area in a much lesser time. And third, it can be also used for vapor suppression. So sometimes there are some toxic liquids or flammable liquids before catching fire if it spills. And if the hydrocarbon detectors detect the fire, then you can activate the foam system even before the fire. And this can be used sort of to suppress the vapor as well as salvage the product. It can be also used in indoor process rooms, like most of the companies who manufacture like pharmaceutical products, and also in process areas, open process areas. But the major requirement is that a medium expansion foam system should be provided with a dike wall so that it can contain the foam. Then the last is nothing but a high expansion foam system, which has a ratio of 100 to 2000 times. It is majorly used in LNG drain pits, sort of to when the LNG takeoff happens from a cargo vessel into the storage tank. There is a drain pit, and this is where the chances of fire are there due to the very low flash point of LNG. Then LPG and LNG tank dikes. We have done a couple of projects on protecting tank dikes where there is a possible incidence of LPG leaking out from either the piping or from the double wall storage tank. Even slowly, we have seen that even warehouse protection is moving with high expansion foam system. We have done a couple of projects, especially in Europe. Warehouse protection, instead of sprinklers, they prefer to go with high expansion. Rubber storage facilities is one of the major hazard which is protected by high expansion. The warehouses which store rubber products. Solid waste recycling plants and incineration plants too are finding nowadays application of high expansion foam system. Now the most important topic, first, when you design a foam system, it all starts with the foam application rate. Before the application rate, it is what type of a foam system is going to be used. So once the type of the foam system is decided, then there is a proper methodology to go about how to go about the application rate. So what is the application rate? So application rate, to make it simple, it is the amount of foam to be applied in a specific area within a specific time. I just repeat it. The foam application rate is nothing but the amount of foam to be applied in a specific area within a specific time. Now let's look at low expansion foam system. Now here the foam application rate is either defined in liter LPM per square meter, that is liter per minute per square meter, or GPM per square feet, that is gallons per minute per square feet. So either of the units are used for defining how much foam solution should be applied into the area. Then second consideration is what is the fuel type, whether it is hydrocarbon or a polar solvent. In the most of the cases, when we have done some sort of an case studies or review of specifications, we have found that in some cases that there were polar solvents which are protected by using just AFFF foam. And to be honest, if you apply AFFF foam, it is not going to extinguish a polar solvent. No foam will be formed because the alcohol drains the foam completely. So fuel type consideration is very important, is of prime importance rather, I would say. And also the flash point of the fuel, because the operation time of a system changes as per the flash point of a fuel. So if we are designing a low expansion foam system, either to protect a storage tank, either to protect a dike area or a warehouse, these are the considerations, basic considerations, which have to be considered by the designer if he has to decide the foam application rate. Now coming to medium expansion, the medium expansion foam systems are those where the expansion is ranging from 21 to 200 times. Now, as we have seen in low expansion, the application rate is in liter per minute. That is the foam solution. But as per NFPA 11, the medium expansion foam system is designed based on the output of the generator. So what we have to know, first, what is the output of the equipment selected, the expanded foam output of the generator, whether it is in cubic meter per minute or cubic feet per minute. Second is what is the class of fuel and the test data. So test data is, James, can I just have a check? I hope all are able to understand, right? And I'm going slow, my pace is decent enough.
Yeah,
Can
it's
you please
okay.
post,
It's okay.
Can you please,
It's clear.
So they can post yes in the chat or two.
Yeah,
if they want
if,
or so. I'll just wait for a minute before I go ahead.
If anyone say it's suggest to slow, please chat me in the chat box, and I'll just feedback Kiran. Yeah. So you can hear me, yeah, Kiran?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So far it's clear.
Okay, so I can move ahead, James?
Yeah.
So coming to the medium expansion foam system, the first criteria to look into is what is the expanded foam output of the generator in cubic meter per minute or in cubic feet per minute. Second, what is the class of the fuel? Whether what is the flash point of the fuel, and based on flash point, what is the classification of the fuel, and the test data. Now here NFP clearly states that there has been limited test data on various fuels. So the manufacturer has to be consulted on what is going to be the sort of test data and what capacity of generator is suitable. Third, whether the enclosure where you're going to put the system, whether it is provided with sprinklers or it is not provided with sprinklers, because the operation time of the foam system depends on that. The fourth most important point is the foam breakdown rate by sprinklers. Most of the times this data is not available. Sometimes this data is not available, sort of readily available in the NFPA standard. So this is done only by the manufacturer or based on the repeated tests carried out, what would be the foam breakdown rate. Because this is a part which goes into the calculation of finding the foam application rate. And we have the test data, and whenever a system is to be designed, we can support our partners with the test data. Fifth is the leakage through enclosure. So most of the time there is a leakage factor which comes into play. So we have to consider that too. And sixth, most important, what is the foam filling height in specific time? So what is the height of foam to be developed in the enclosure in a specific time? As aircraft hangar has a different foam filling height per minute, NFPA 11 has a different foam filling height per minute. So even that has to be considered while deciding on the foam application rate. Now we move to high expansion foam systems. So high expansion foam systems and medium have the same criteria. Only the difference is the expanded foam output of a high expansion is much higher as compared to a medium expansion foam system. And rest it remains the same. Class of fuel, enclosure, sprinklered or unsprinklered, foam breakdown rate by sprinklers, leakage through the enclosures, and the foam filling height. Now the most important question, which I sort of want to emphasize on and make everyone understand that how the listing of the foam equipment takes place. So the first step in the whole listing process of the equipment and the foam is the foam concentrate is fire tested as per the test protocol mentioned in UL 162. So UL 162 is a standard, is a certification standard for low expansion foam equipment. So they have a test protocol where the fire test takes place, and the foam concentrate is tested as per that protocol. So once the test is happened, there are the foam qualities which are identified during the fire test, and these foam qualities for low expansion are very specific. One is the foam drainage, and one is the foam expansion. So foam expansion is nothing but how much times the foam is expanding, and the foam drainage is in what time period is the water draining from the foam. And based on these two, the step 1 and step 2, then the equipment is tested. And the equipment, the performance of the equipment, say for example, if there is a foam maker or a foam pourer, then the foam maker and the foam pourer has to match the foam qualities of the fire test, that is the expansion and the drainage. And that is how the culmination of all these 3 steps ensures that the equipment is able to produce the foam of the required quality. And that is of utmost importance. Foam is just not foam which is aggregation of air and foam solution. It is much more beyond that. It is about the quality of foam, that is the drainage and the expansion. And this will ensure that the fire is extinguished. And the most important about, I would like to also emphasize on the compatibility. So you have to ensure always that you have to check for the compatibility of the foam concentrate with the foam equipment, and all this data, we can help you with any of the manufacturer because this data is globally available on the UL online certifications directory. And this is very important because that foam has to be specifically compatible with that foam equipment so that the whole foam system operates as a system and it is able to generate the desired output of the foam which can extinguish the fire. Next. Now we just run through an Hipten fire test. This is a foam concentrate fire test as per UL 162. So this is a heat load of about 243 liters of Hipten. Now Hipten is a test fuel which is used for, it is a test fuel to represent a complete range of hydrocarbons, that is gasoline, petrol, diesel, SKO, and MTBE. So this is the pre-burn which is happening, and there is just water being put on the side of the pan. So the foam has not yet started. It is just the water. And a pre-burn of about 1 minute is given to it. And all the test pan and everything are in line with the UL specifications, that is UL 162. And now the foam application has started. And then this is how the foam extinguishment takes place. So you can see flickers of foam, and the foam is trying to fight out the fire. And this is a torch which is used to ensure the sealability test. Now the biggest challenge for any foam is to seal the edges, because the edges are hot after the fire, and the foam should be capable of sealing the edges, because if the edges are not sealed, the fire will reignite again. So here they are checking how the foam has sealed the edges of the fire test pan. And also the torch is also sort of passed over the surface to see if the blanket integrity is intact. So you can see that these are the small flickers are there, but still it has not become a fire because the foam is good enough to sustain those flickers, and this is called as a 90% control of the fire. Yeah, Abhishek, you can move to next. So what are the basic components of any foam system? So the basic components of any foam system consist of three main components. One is storage, second is proportioning, third is the discharge devices. Now, what do you mean by storage? So the purpose of a storage equipment is to store the foam concentrate with minimal deterioration. That is disintegration of the chemistry of the foam. And examples of such are atmospheric storage tanks and bladder tanks. Now, after storage comes the second component of the system, which is proportioning, that is mixing of water and foam concentrate. Now, I would like to emphasize that this is the heart of any foam system. However good you might have the foam, that is the best quality of the foam. However good might be the discharge device, which is going to sort of make the foam and put the foam on the fire. But if the proportioning is not accurate, nothing works in a foam system. And this is the heart of the foam system. So proportioning is nothing but mixing of water and foam concentrate. So what's the purpose? Purpose is to ensure accurate mixing of foam concentrate with water. And this is what UL has, witnessed the complete mixing of foam and water, foam concentrate into the water with the various flow ranges at our test facility. And this is what gives the UL listing. So the proportioning equipment should be capable of mixing foam and water. Examples are self-inducting monitor nozzles, foam branch pipes with pickup tube, inline inductor, inline foam proportioner, and ratio controllers or foam proportioner. So these are the basic 5 categories of foam proportioning equipments. And the last are the equipment which are called as the discharge devices, which basically convert the foam solution into the finished foam. The finished foam is the foam which is applied on the fuel surface. The purpose of them is to ensure the foam generation with the required quality. And what is quality, as I said, is the fire test values. So it consists of 2 parameters, that is expansion and drainage. Some examples of discharge devices: foam sprinklers, foam makers, foam chambers, foam monitors, medium expansion foam generators, and high expansion foam generators. As I said earlier, that proportioning is the heart of a foam system. And that is because it is not possible to have the finished foam of a required quality if accurate amount of foam is not mixed into the water and a proper foam solution is not supplied to a discharge device. So there are basically 3 broad categories of foam proportioning systems. One is an inline inductor with atmospheric tanks. B, inline foam proportioner with foam pump skids. And C, bladder tank with foam proportioners and ratio controllers. So let's have a look at the type A, that is inline inductor with foam storage tanks. Now it is this type of a system is the lowest cost foam system available on the market. It just consists of an inline inductor with some piping arrangement, as you can see in the picture. This is an inline inductor, and there's a piping arrangement, that is suction which goes inside the tank. And this is the foam storage tank, which basically stores the foam concentrate. And this foam storage tank is open to atmosphere. It is only suitable for fixed pressure and fixed flow. And most of the time we have observed that inline inductor have been used in systems where the pressure varies or the flow varies, and the whole system has got the whole system malfunctions and is not able to suck the foam, and it goes into a toss when the system is operated. So all the designers, all the professionals have to ensure that this type of a system is used in a hydraulically calculated system, where you know the exact pressure at the tapping point, where you know the exact flow. Any variance in flow and pressure will lead to stopping the foam from being sucked, or there would be less pressure at the foam discharge device, which would affect the foam formation. Now, what are the limitations? As I said earlier, it cannot take care of variable pressures and flow scenarios, and it requires very high operating pressure because there is about a 35% pressure drop in the inductor. Small orifice discharge devices like sprinklers. Now, what happens in a sprinkler system is sometimes, say you have installed an inductor with a foam storage tank and provided it to foam sprinklers. And sometimes it might happen due to sort of lower maintenance or some debris in the water might go and clog the foam sprinkler. And if the clogging takes place, the back pressure on the system increases, the flow changes, the pressure changes, and this leads to malfunctioning of the foam system. So whenever you are using small orifice devices, please do not use inductor systems. As I said, change in back pressure affects foam proportioning. And also, as the foam is stored in the storage tank, there is a pressure vacuum vent on the tank. So at times most of the time the foam is open to the air. So there are chances of foam degradation happening over a long period of time. Next, Abhishek. Now, inline foam proportional with foam pump skid. Now, this again, the components are: there is a main foam storage tank, there is a foam pump here, which is again UL listed, and there are inline foam proportioners. Now, the features of this system is, yes, it is more accurate foam proportioning as compared to inline inductor. You can protect various zones with this system. Like say for example, this system is provided for a storage tank terminal, so you can use the same foam storage with the same foam pump and the different inline proportioners to protect oil storage tanks, to protect a dike, to protect a warehouse, to provide foam solution to remote control monitors, blah blah blah. So this is what I mean by multiple zones. It can take care of variable flows and pressures. So say one system requires a flow of 2000 GPM at 5 bar, and another system requires a flow of 4000 GPM at 7 bar. It can work, and proportioning is ensured. Also, refilling of foam is possible during operation. So if the required logistics of foam transfer are available at the fire site, then yes, you can refill the foam during operation. Coming to limitations, it requires periodic maintenance because it consists a lot of moving parts. As the pump is there, there is a control panel, there is a lot of instrumentation onto it, pressure gauges, pressure sensing hoses. Sorry. So rotating parts, so it's tear and wear. So maintenance is required. Also, the pump requires either an electric power to run and or either a diesel engine. So it can be an electric motor driven foam pump, or it can be a diesel engine driven foam pump. This is one of its main drawback. In case of any power failure or scenario, unless you have a power backup, you cannot operate the system. And again, as the foam is also stored in the storage tank for a long time, chances of degradation of the chemistry of foam exist. Abhishek, next. Now, bladder tanks with foam proportioners and ratio controllers. This is also one of the most reliable foam systems which have been accepted by consultants and owners, system owners, oil refineries over the globe. And because it is the most accurate foam system and simple and reliable to operate. Again, you can use it for protecting multiple zones. As you can see here, this is the main bladder tank and the reserve bladder tank in the picture. And it consists of multiple proportioners. So from the same skid, we can protect multiple areas. And in case one bladder tank is in maintenance, we can operate with the other bladder tank. And this arrangement is very peculiar to aircraft storage hangars, wherein the foam is to be replenished within 24 hours, which is not possible. So every aircraft hangar has a main bladder tank and a reserve bladder tank. So again, bladder tanks take care of variable flow and pressure scenarios. The most important thing is the foam bladder, which is again the heart of the bladder tank, and it ensures integrity of the foam, because the foam is not exposed to the atmosphere at all. And the bladders manufactured by us have passed the UL 162 aging test with air, with foam concentrates, and also they have in field, they have given a service of about 13 to 15 years till now without any issues. And the best part of this system is it just requires water pressure to operate, nothing else. There is no electrical power required, there is no prime mover required, it is just the water pressure. And rest, the bladder tank will take care of automatic proportioning depending on the flow rate and the pressure. It's very simple to operate. It can be completely automated using deluge valves and foam control valve, or it can be a manual system too. Limitations, it just has one limitation, that is the foam concentrate cannot be refilled during the operation. So generally bladder tanks are designed as a one single shot system, where the sort of bladder tank is designed such that it will operate for the complete operation time as per the standard requirement. So say for example, if we give this bladder tanks for a storage tank protection and 55 minutes is the duration, then one bladder tank is sized for operation of a 55-minute duration. So just, and also if additionally reserve bladder tank can be provided. Next. Now, I would just like to take this presentation forward. Yeah. So you guys have any question on what has happened, what I have sort of presented till now? Any questions? So please post it so that I can move to the next section of the webinar.
Yeah,
and James, please note the questions. If any, we can address it in the Q&A session.
Yes, I'm summarizing all the questions.
Perfect. So can I go ahead, James?
Yeah, go ahead.
Should I take a pause for a minute?
You can go ahead.
Okay, fine. So now this slide represents the sort of a typical arrangement of how a foam system is provided for aircraft hangar protection. So first of all, whether there is a requirement of foam system for aircraft hangar or not depends on what is the type of hangar and what is the group of hangar as per NFPA 409. So whenever a foam system is provided for an aircraft hangar, it can be either overhead sprinklers, low expansion foam system. That is option one. Or the second option is it can be a high expansion foam system. Now the PNID shown here is of a low expansion foam system. So the basic components of a low expansion foam system are the overhead sprinklers, which are mounted on the top. You can see on the top of the aeroplane sketch. Then at the side you have the oscillating monitors to cover the area under the wingspan, on which the foam cannot be sprayed by the overhead sprinklers. Then you have the detectors, which are generally IR detectors, UV IR detectors or IR3 detectors, which are used to detect the fire. Then there is also a hose reel station, which is for supplementary fire protection. So it can be either a hose reel station with a inductor foam hose reel station, or it can be a bladder type foam hose reel station. And there is a bladder tank with a ratio controller. So the operation philosophy says that in case of a fire, which is detected by the UV IR detectors, they send a signal to the alarm panel, and the alarm panel then actuates the deluge valve provided at the inlet of the foam proportional, and the deluge valve is actuated, as well as on the downside also there are deluge valves for individual systems, like the foam sprinkler has one deluge valve, the hose reel station has one deluge valve, and also for the oscillating monitor. So this way the different delayage valves can be programmed to operate so that they can operate simultaneously, and then the whole aircraft hangar can be flooded with foam. And in this case also there is a electrically operated foam concentrate wall here, which is all, so the foam supply is provided to the system only on the receipt of the detection signal. Next. Now the warehouse protection. Now warehouses can be of two types, either just a single flat storage, or it can be multiple racks. So in multiple racks, there is also the requirement is that overhead sprinklers should be provided, and also in-rack sprinklers should be provided. So it depends on the design standard where NFPA 30 is used or NFPA 16 is used for this, and the system is designed accordingly. The selection of the sprinklers, the application rate is carried out as per the standard. The generic application rate is about 6.5 LPM per square meter, which is approximately 0.16 GPM per square feet. So here the basic components are right from the water supply inlet side, there is an alarm valve above the isolation valve. From the alarm valve, there is a tapping which goes, one tapping goes to the proportioner and one tapping goes to the foam control valve. And there is a bladder tank connected to the water supply is given to the outside of the bladder tank after the alarm valve. And there is a proportioner which is connected in the water supply line. There are overhead sprinklers which are mounted at the roof. They are also called as ceiling sprinklers. And additionally, there are sprinklers, in-rack sprinklers too. So that in case of a fire in the in-rack, these sprinklers can operate. Now the system shown here is a closed head foam sprinkler system as per NFPA 16. So in case of any fire, these sprinklers will burst open, and only that area will be flooded with the foam where the sprinklers have opened due to the heat radiated from the fire. And the foam is admitted to the system only when the alarm valve opens, and the foam control valve will open due to the pressure tapping taken from the water supply, and the foam will be supplied. So here the proportioner takes care of the complete proportioning throughout the whole range of the proportioner. So the foam will be available also when minimum 4 sprinkler operate, or more than 4 sprinkler also operate. Next, Abhi. Now also these type of foam systems can also be used with a single proportioner or a multiple proportioner for process platforms where there are different type of systems given for different levels and different hazards in one process platform. And this can be specific to either a process building also in a chemical or a pharmaceutical manufacturing company. It can be also, this system can be designed also for a offshore platform. So let's say for example, here at level 1 we have foam sprinklers. Level 2 you have hose reel stations, foam hose reel stations at level 2. At level 3 again you have foam sprinkler system, and on the outside on the deck you have oscillating monitors. And each of the system is provided with a delayage valve, individual delayage valve, which is triggered based on either from the control panel. And all these systems are integrated to one single bladder tank with a single proportioner, considering that the flow of all the systems is within the flow range of a single proportioner. If the flow rates are varying beyond the flow capacity of the ratio controller or the foam proportioner, then multiple proportioners are provided. So again here the bladder tank, so in case of any fire scenario, the fire personnel will activate the delayage valve, and the fire water supply generally in offshore platforms the complete system is pressurized up to the delayage valve. So you just have to actuate the delayage valve and the whole area will be flooded with the foam. And here the type of foam systems used are all low expansion foam systems. Next step. Now this is a tanker and truck loading facility, which is quite peculiar in terms of marketing installation, that is where the distribution of the petroleum fuels takes place through tankers. So here the major risk which is involved is during the unloading and loading of the fuel from the truck or the tanker. So this is a complete automatic system which consists of detector heads. Earlier, the automatic sprinklers used to be used as a detector head, but nowadays you have highly efficient and reliable UV-IR, IR3 detectors. Even with HD feed, HD video feed are available from our end, where even not only the fire detection can take place, but also the safety personnel can see the video sitting in the control room. So the detection is wired to the control panel. Then there is a bladder tank with ratio controller. Then there is a deluge valve provided in the system for the automatic supply, automatic actuation of the foam system from the control room. And there are foam sprinklers provided at the top, and they're also always provided at the side of the tanker also, so that the complete area in case of a fire is sprayed with foam. And this is how the whole gantry. So if you have and one foam system can be used to protect multiple trucks. So these are in India they are generally called as TLF, that is tanker loading facility. Yes, Abhishek, next. Now this is a dike or a bund area protection. This is very specific again to chemical industries, petroleum industries, where you have a lot of oil tanks or process tanks. Like also in paint industry, there are a lot of solvent tanks, small solvent tanks inside the dike. And these solvent tanks have a lot of process connections, a lot of instrumentation, a lot of flange joints. And in due course, due to some say fracture of some of the piping or of the sealing elements like gaskets, there are chances of the flammable fuel spilling into the dike. And once a dike spill catches fire, the whole of the tanks as well as the dike are in fire. So in this case, the medium expansion generators are mounted around the dike, and the ballast tank with proportioners and deluge valve are provided. And again, here also the detection can be provided on the dike wall. You can provide either hydrocarbon or you can provide even UV-IR detectors, which will detect the fire in seconds, activate the foam system, and this dike will be completely filled with foam. Yeah, Abhishek. Yeah. So
Yes.
yeah, Abhishek, thanks a lot.
Thanks,
And
Kiran.
I would like you to take it over further.
Yeah. So thanks, Kiran. So guys, we have seen till now, according to NFPA, what are the different installations in different applications, how are they being used? But that is all theory. And we at FireTech are the people who believe turning knowledge into practice to solve actual customer challenges. So we would like to share with you some of the challenges or the case studies from our past experience, where we had faced one case study where a client had come to us, which is this is one of the larger LNG facilities in India, and probably one of the larger in Asia. And client wanted to have some sort of foam protection system, and a lot of designs were not working because the sheer requirement of foam was much higher. So this is where FireTech stepped in, and FireTech designed the entire system. So this is a foam pump based fire protection system. And as Kiran earlier mentioned, this has a huge foam storage tank, along with it a foam skid system. And so this entire system designing was done by FireTech in-house, and also the fabrication and testing was done by FireTech. The companies involved were Black & Veatch from US and Foster Wheeler from UK. And FireTech ensured that the system was designed as per the requirement of international standards, NFPAs, and the local guidelines, and ensured that we deliver this product. This facility was commissioned last year, about 1.5 years back, close to now, and has been functioning very smoothly. We also spoke about aircraft hangars, and this is one of the projects that we have done in the recent past, where we had protected high altitude aircraft, defense aircraft hangar. The peculiar thing here was, we obviously have seen Kiran have in detail explained how the foam sprinklers are used, how high expansion system is used in aircraft hangars. So we use all those concepts here. Interesting thing here was, since it was in a Himalayan region, the temperature range was -25 degree right up to the +40 degree, and hence selection of foam itself was a challenge. But we came up with the design for the system. We followed NFPA standards, and today again, this is one of the aircrafts which is one of the highest altitude aircraft, which is completely designed and product supplied by Firetech. After this, we have also done another 6 aircraft hangars across globe, where our equipments are protecting the aircraft hangars. Moving on. This is an interesting example. This is a small video which I'm going to play for you. Yes. So this is a port jetty
Abhishek.
which Firetech has protected. Again, here the client had come up where they wanted a complete solution. Yes. Yes, James?
Now it's okay. A while ago, the
Okay.
signal is lost. Yeah.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, now. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So yeah, this is the complete. So again, so this is what I was saying was, this is the example where client had come up to us saying that they have a particular problem to protect jetty, and they wanted an integrated solution. And if you can see, there are huge tower monitor, remote operated tower monitors are there. There are water curtain nozzles are there, and entire foam proportioning system. So the entire system design was again done by Firetech, and the fabrication
Abhishek, your screen was lost. Hello? I think Abhishek internet was gone.
Yeah. Just a minute. He'll be back. Just a minute.
Okay.
I'm extremely sorry. Has happened to do some network issues. Just a minute.
So anyway, I got some questions. I put it in a Word file. Later on I read one by one for the answers.
Not a problem. It is better we take the questions in the Q&A session. James, am I audible?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, Abhishek is running. Just a minute.
Okay, Abhishek, you unmute yourself, Abhishek.
Yeah, hi, sorry. I'm so sorry. I think was a bit of a technical glitch, but no webinar can be complete without a technical glitch. So I'm back. Yes. So again, so metaphorically speaking, this is where people say that we have done this thousands of times. Sorry.
Abhishek, your screen.
You can share your screen, yeah.
Yeah. I'm so sorry. Are you able to see it?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, okay. So oil terminal protection is the one area where we have literally done it in thousands of times. And till date, Firetech has designed more than 500 fire protection system for oil tanks, dikes, terminal protection. We have expertise in low, medium, and high expansion system. We have supplied to more than 1,000 oil terminal expansion greenfield projects all across India and across the globe. And these are some of the pictures from actual site that you are seeing. Today in the seminar, we did not speak about the CFA or CAF system, CAF is essentially compressed air foam system, and it is a variant, it's an advanced variant of the AFFF or ARAFFF systems that we speak about. CAF system has a compressed air, so it does not rely on you. This is a particular system that we have designed for a nuclear submarine. The entire R&D for this project was going on for 5 years. It was an exhaustive process where we started right from R&D to prototyping to demonstrating it to the customer and finally supplying to the customer. Already 8 such units are operational in various Indian Navy submarines, in different submarines. We are supplying further another set of few aircraft such stations. Looking at this capability and this particular product and the field trials of this product, we have been approached by a couple of European submarine manufacturers for a tie-up and technology development. So this is where something that we are exploring and taking it forward. So this is a brief of some of the designs that we saw, which Kiran explained based on NFPA, which we have put in practice. And as you may have mentioned in the earlier, we have a huge ambition to ensure that our clients get a right solution. To support our solution, we have come up with a wide range of product portfolio. So right from water to foam to dry chemical, Firetech has a huge product portfolio. Some of our UL listed products I have just put in for you to have a look at. I strongly encourage all of you to visit our website firetechindia.com and so to know more about our products and read more about our products. Just to finally sum up, it has been a wonderful about an 1 hour 15 minutes where Kiran and James have been kind enough to explain about understanding of fire. Just to sum up, we at a Firetech here serve different industry and we specializing in giving solution to a specific problems that the customer comes up with. We at a heart are engineers, and wherever there is a fire safety challenge, we stand up to provide solutions. We believe in our mission, life matters. So that's it from all of us here at the people you can rely on. I would now like to hand over mic again back to Kiran for a vote of thanks, and then we'll open the session for question and answers.
Yeah, so first of all, thanks Abhishek for presenting the case studies of the work done by Firetech. So first of all, I would like to convey my gratitude to Mr. Torre and Mr. Dakani for giving us this opportunity, and also to Mr. James Abarca for organizing such a wonderful opportunity for us to present the foam systems. In fact, to be honest, NFPA 11 standard cannot be just covered in one webinar. There are various type of hazards which can be protected by NFPA 11. There is a various design approach to be made while selection of equipment, selection of application rate, and what type of proportioning system to go for. So James, I would like to sort of declare that Firetech would be having a webinar series in the months to come, especially for PSME, so that we can address all the different type of systems, how to go about the design, selection of the equipment, selection of the foam, how to sort of integrate the whole system, how to test it, how to maintain it. So James, I would request you take up this proposal with Mr. Torre and Dakani, and let us know how we can plan it ahead. And once again, also my lot of thanks to all the delegates without whom this would not have been possible. So thanks for an amazing response, and we look forward to meet you again soon. James,
yeah, sure.
Could you please talk?
Yeah.
James, over to you.
Okay, thanks. Okay. Yeah, sure. I mean, there will be more detailed webinar or discussion. I mean, this would help everyone if you would want and inquire from us, then from Mr. Kiran and Abhishek, then it will be a good help for everyone. Okay. Now I have some few questions.
Yeah, please.
Okay, we can move on with the questions.
Yes.
Oh, by the way, before the question, like you mentioned, like there will be, what will be the more detailed discussion if there is, for example, more talking about application rates or talk about the equipment functions?
James, this question is for me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So see, like James, as I mentioned in one of the slides, regarding the different fire protection hazards. So if you're giving a foam system for say storage tank protection, the complete approach is different.
Mm.
Okay, it's from design, selection of equipment, which foam to use. So we'll be planning a webinar series now, the future series, a complete say 15, like 10 or 15 webinars. We'll be planning only on the different type of hazards which can be protected by NFPA level, which will cover everything, right from the design to the maintenance.
Yeah, sure. We can send them to all the emails for them to to register.
And as well as the typical PNIDs, so that our like professional members from PSME can use them for their whenever they have a projectable design, they can use those PNIDs. So we will be providing all the sort of basic information which can help them design a foam system.
Okay,
and
great.
we are always there. James, you are there always to help them out, and we are there always to reply all the queries.
Yeah, okay, great. Okay, I will just read some few questions. This question is from Engineer Cesar Aquino. He want to ask, when and where a protein-based and synthetic-based foam concentrate be used on the following fire incidents? Tank fire, which is the rim seal fire and full surface fire. B, in dike or band fires, and letter C, in spill fires.
Okay, so where to use, in which system to use a specific foam, that depends on what is the flash point of the fuel, what is the heat load of the fuel, so and what is also the application rate. Generally, globally right now, AR-AFFF foam has been found to be very reliable to extinguish large storage tank fires using the monitor. Okay. No excuse. Yeah. So Last Fire is an organization which stays large atmospheric storage tank fires. They have a protocol to test the foam for large storage tank fires, and in that testing protocol, only 2 or 3 foams have been able to pass globally. One is fluoroprotein foam, one is AR-AFFF foam, and the third one, I guess, is film-forming fluoroprotein foam. Okay, so AR-AFFF foam, the biggest advantage is it has a very high thermal stability. No doubt, the spreading coefficient is a bit lower than AFFF, but the thermal stability and the characteristic to seal the hot surfaces is very good. And third is it has a very high drainage time. So AFFF foam they have a drainage time ranging from 30 seconds to about 2 to 3 minutes, while AR-AFFF foam have the foam drainage time ranging from 7 minutes to even 12 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, so that's a brief answer to the question, but if anything specific, they can always write to you and we can reply to it.
Yeah, okay. Next question. If I'll be using a bladder tank on my design for fixed tank fire protection system, how much allowance do I have to add to compensate any retention on the rubber bladder? I assume that the foam concentrate will not be 100% fully discharged on the bladder tank.
Okay, so to answer this question, first of all, the bladder tank is designed at a 5% extra capacity, the inside volume, so that it can accommodate the foam as well as the thermal expansion of the foam. Point one. Secondly, generally the industry has been taking about 10 to 15% of the additional volume during the design stage, so that the required foam completely can be put onto the hazard. So the safety, so the factor to be taken is 1.1 or 1.15.
Okay. So, Engineer Aquino, you are here, right? You can hear the answer? Okay, anyway, one more question. On
Yes.
subsurface or semi-subsurface foam tank fire protection system design, what are the
Okay.
design criteria like do's and don't to consider in dealing with flammable, combustible, and water miscible liquids?
Okay. Now, first of all, in a subsurface or a semi-subsurface foam system, the expanded foam is injected from the bottom of the tank.
Yes,
One-
correct.
one. So it is limited only to hydrocarbons,
Mm.
okay, with only fixed roof tanks, not with floating tanks, because the foam cannot form because there is no space in floating roof tank, open top. Third is it cannot be used with water miscible polar solvents, because as the foam will travel, the foam will get destroyed, because the alcohol will break the foam which is traveling upward.
Yes. Yeah.
And third, and the fourth most is one has to also know what is the water density of the, and what is going to be the density of the foam, because the foam will have to travel right from the bottom to the top, and then the foam will sort of start floating on the top of the liquid.
Yes.
Yeah. So this requires again piping hydraulic analysis of the whole system too, because the foam generator has to work against the back pressure of the oil in the tank, because the oil is stored in the tank which has a height.
Mm.
Okay. And that height of oil exerts back pressure on the generator, on the high back pressure foam maker. So it's a engineered system completely, for which the manufacturer has to be consulted.
Okay. Okay. Question from Engineer Edgardo Galindez. One problem I had when I was in one of the power plant I work with, our company took over from Napocor after privatization. Napocor is a national power corporation. And we had
Okay.
plenty of foam concentrates. Since no documents
Okay.
were turned over, no intact container level, is there a way to determine or testing organizations to test the chemicals if they are already expired?
Yes, you can you can send some samples to us, might be 5 liters. We will let you know what samples. There is a testing cost to it. We can test the foam and give you the test report on that.
Okay.
You can do that.
So they will send the sample.
Yes.
Okay, just collect a sample and send.
Yeah. So when you send the sample, we will require the batch number of the foam from which the batch has. So suppose there are multiple batches, then we can take multiple batches. We can take a sample from all the batches, and if required, if you require testing by UL, we can do that too.
Yeah, correct. Same thing we did here in Singapore in some of our projects.
Okay. Great.
Now, next question from Engineer Jabir Kambala. When are we going to use the foam concentrate of 1%, 3%, and 6%?
Okay. First is, if you can use any percentage of the foam, but you have to ensure that all the equipment which go into the foam system are listed, are compatible with that foam concentrate. So your bladder tank has to be compatible with 3%. The bladder inside the bladder tank has to be tested with that foam. The foam discharge device also has to be tested with that foam. So the most important issue which is to be verified is the compatibility. That's point number one. Second is, the only advantage is that when you move from 6 to 3, the size of the foam storage becomes half. And when you move from 3% to 1%, the size of the foam storage becomes 1/3. Okay. As you go on reducing the percentage of the foam, the size of the bladder tank or the storage tank will go on reducing. However, the foam price also goes on increasing proportionately. So 1% is more costlier than 3%. Is costlier. Yeah. Yeah, Abhishek, you want to add something?
Yeah, Kiran, and just to add to this, as your proportion decreases, your proportioning becomes very critical. In 6%, because every time whenever the proportioning happens, there is a certain tolerance. So as you move towards 1%, your proportioning has to be far more precise. So your equipment need to be far more precise, and hence again the cost of that will go on. So it's a game where the cost of foam also increases and the equipment also increases because metering or proportioning has to be that much accurate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Technical and value engineering together. Yeah. Okay. Next question from Ruby Glenn, Engineer Ruby Glenn. Is there a foam recommendation for IFO 180 with flash point 90 degrees centigrade?
We will come back to it. We will discuss with our chemist, and we'll come back to it. So this specific question you can put to us, and we'll come back because I think that like something class 3 as per NFPA. So we will revert on that because I don't have specific data at my hand right now.
Okay. Next question from Engineer Jim Reyes. Do we need to consider 35% pressure loss at the foam proportioner when performing hydraulic calculation, or it is not required since it will be compensated with the water coming in from the other side of the proportioner?
Okay, so the answer is 35% pressure drop is to be considered only for inline inductor, not for foam proportional.
Oh, inline inductor. Okay.
Inline inductor uses atmospheric foam supply.
So Kiran had mentioned 3 types. First was inline inductor, second was proportional, and third was also proportional. So Kiran is talking about the first one, which has a 35% drop. Foam proportioners, second and third type, which we discussed, and you will probably have can remember it when you go through the slides again, do not have this high pressure drop. Yes, Kiran, now you can probably explain. Continue.
Yeah. So like generally for the foam proportionals, if you want to know the pressure drop, you have to refer to the pressure loss at the flow curve. But never the pressure drop is maximum flow, maximum pressure drop would be hardly 1 bar.
Okay.
So it depends from manufacturer to manufacturer.
Yes, and to answer to that question, for calculation, hydraulic calculation, yes, you have to compensate for, or you have to reconsider that 35%, 30 to 35% pressure drop.
Second thing is, James, one more point I would like to add specifically is that any firefighting system, foam-based system or water-based system has to undergo hydraulic calculation.
Yes.
Most of the time, assumptions are done on the pressure, and the whole system during commissioning goes into a problem. We are equipped with PipeNet software, which is the sort of globally renowned software for hydraulic analysis for firefighting systems, and we can provide you with the design support required as well.
Okay, so you mean the design is available whenever if somebody wants to ask for assistance, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Next question from Engineer Jabir Gambala. For alcohol storage tanks, fixed roof, where should be the detection located? Inside tank or outside roof surface of the tank?
Correct. So generally there are different ways how you can go about detection. One is you can provide a probe type detector on the inside a nozzle on the roof of the tank. Some clients have been using LHS cable, that is a linear heat sensing cable. Also, some people have been using UV-IR detectors. So it depends on the HAZOP analysis and the safety philosophy of the company, which type of protection to go for.
Also, LHD linear heat detection is also allowed.
Yes.
Okay. I think this answers one of the question of safety tech to us. Yeah, Masur. Okay. From Jim Reyes, are your tank ASME inspected or has ASME certification?
We have both.
Both have ASME certs, yeah?
Yeah, so the option of with ASME or without ASME, both options are available.
Okay. So next question. Any change in bladder tank design when used in ships, considering 12 degrees roll and 8-degree pitch, from Engineer Rainier Callis?
We can do the analysis of the tank for the pitch and the roll, and we have softwares for that. So we can give you the output, and our bladder tank will be designed to take care of that shock loading.
It will be specific case that we will take up.
Okay. Engineer Rainier, you have a question here. Did Fartech supply the ONGC?
Yes, we have.
The ONGC. Okay. The next question. For foam hose station, hose
Yes.
reel, is there a special type of hose required, or could we use the same type of hose that is used for normal firefighting purpose? If required
No,
special
it is,
type, UL standard
it,
is asking.
yes, yes, it requires a special type of hose. Normal firefighting collapsible hose cannot be used because it is you like cannot rewound the hose on the hose reel. So it requires a solid rubber hose with a reinforcement in it, which is specially sort of made for foam applications.
Okay. Okay. Then from Engineer Polo Makalad, how can we maintain the proportioning system of fire trucks? How can we check if it is still effective?
So I'll be taking one of this topic about when we take like testing and acceptance. So in NFP 11 there is a procedure called as the conductivity testing or measurement of how much foam is within the water. Okay.
Okay.
A very elaborative procedure which is given in Annexure A. I can share the details later in email.
Yeah, Annexure A in the NFP 11. Okay, next question from Engineer Robert. Doctora, do you recommend foam system in private helipads?
See, recommendation of the foam system for any specific criteria, any specific hazard depends on the AHA, that is the authority having jurisdiction, like the local fire service or the fire department. It depends what is the safety norms followed in that country. If required, we can provide.
Yeah, so James, to answer to that is, as a manufacturer, yes, we want our products to be used and hence it is recommended. But as Kiran rightly mentioned, it is specific authority it is governed by the regulations of the authority.
Yeah, the authority in jurisdiction. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, next question. This is another about hydraulic calculation. If the required pressure at the tapping point is relatively less than the pressure in the system, do we need to introduce pressure regulating device before the bladder tank system?
Come back again on the question.
If the required pressure at the tapping point is relatively less than the pressure in the system, do we need to introduce pressure regulating device before the bladder tank?
Okay. See, the pressure regulating device is required only when the tapping pressure is more, not less.
Not less, yeah. So it's a reverse. Okay.
So that because two things. Let's take an example. The pressure at the tapping point is say 14 bar. Okay. Bladder tank maximum service pressure is 12 bar. Then a pressure regulating device is required. Okay. To limit the pressure to the bladder tank with respect to the rated pressure. Second is, say for example, when you come to the tapping point by hydraulic calculation, you come to know that at the tapping point the pressure required by hydraulic analysis is say 10 bar with a specific flow. And the available tapping point pressure is 14 bar, then also a pressure regulating value is required so that additional wastage of water does not take place.
Correct. Yes.
And your pumping system is completely. Otherwise, if you go to operate multiple firefighting systems without pressure regulating devices, then there is a chance of pump overrun.
Okay. Next question.
James, you also have to keep a watch on the
observe watch. How many questions?
Yeah, because I think we are closing on 2 hours, but yeah, I mean, you decide.
4 questions away.
Correct. Not
okay,
a problem.
4 questions away. From Engineer Severino, does Fartech scope covered switch gear and control room area? I think this one is gas suppression.
Yes, gas suppression.
Yeah, switch gear and control room area. Okay, next question. Does the foam chemical
So yeah, so just to
expires?
answer that, as of now we are not in gas separation, but yes, so in that is a gas separation area, and Firetech as of now do not have any products or solutions in that area.
Yes.
Yeah, we don't have, but we are working. Our R&D
Correct.
team has started working on it. Once it's there, we will again host a webinar and let you know about it.
Okay, next.
Yeah.
Does the foam chemical expires? What is the standard shelf life? What's the advantage of using 3% versus 6% foam concentrate?
Okay, so yes, I think everybody has an expiry date. We humans too have an expiry date, and also the foam chemical, right? Everything has to die. So yes, and generally the shelf life depends on the manufacturer. Minimum is 10 years. It can even go to 20 years. Again, the advantage of using 5%, 6% and 3%. 6% is cheap, 3% is expensive. But if you have to store for a hazard 6%, you will require double the storage capacity.
Okay. Okay. Third from the final question from Engineer Mirza. How much pressure needed for bladder tank to operate and the maximum pressure allowed?
Minimum pressure required is 4 bar. Maximum it can go to 12 bar, the current listing, but we are upgrading our bladder tanks to a new pressure rating, which will be available soon. Work in progress.
Okay, last one. For a fuel storage tank, the foam discharge nozzles are typically wrapped around the body of the tank. Will one ring of discharge nozzle sufficient to comply with NFPA 11?
Generally, no. Minimum should be 2 discharge devices minimum, so that the foam is covered equally from both the sides. Minimum 2 should be there. You just can't give 1. I know NFPA says that, but a good engineering practice is to at least give minimum 2. So that foam
I think, Kiran, the question is about tank cooling nozzles.
Yeah.
Not about the foam discharge devices.
No, but the question is, the foam discharge nozzles are typically wrapped around the body of the tube.
One ring. So ring is essentially for, I think.
I'm also confused. So yeah. So I will address both the things.
It's like a cooling, cooling for cooling. Yeah.
No, fine. So I will address both. No problem. So first,
okay.
If you're giving a foam nozzle on the tank, it should be minimum 2. That's a good engineering practice. Second is if now regarding the water spray system or the cooling system, depends which is the standard followed. NFPA 15 says that every 3.5 meter there should be 1 ring of height. So maximum space. Yes, yeah. So say for example, if the tank height is 7, like say 8 meters, then there have to be minimum 2 rings of cooling nozzles. This is for the exposure protection of the tank.
So just to clarify here, so there are 2 parts. One is a foam application for the for inside of tank fire, and the water application for tank cooling. So outside. I think the question has mixed both the aspects. Yes, James.
Yeah, I think correct. 2 things: the nozzle on the perimeter of the tank, and of course the protection inside by foam.
Correct.
Okay. So anyway, that's all for the question for today. I cannot see any more questions coming. So like what Kiran said, I think there will be an email sent to everyone on certain different topics for continuous learning on foam suppression. So, and the PSMB chapters respectively, they can reply if they're interested.
Yeah, yes, and James, say by end of next week, we will have a calendar for this. Okay, so that we can be planned and everybody can plan their schedule.
Okay.
So we can build this series of 8 or 10 presentations and share our knowledge as well as have industry interaction and make the industry better.
Actually, there's still a lot. Today is just an overview, but it took us 2 hours. Yeah. Okay. So thank you. Engineer Florante, Engineer Roselier.
Okay. Can we close now the webinar, James?
Yes, sir. Okay.
Okay. So thank you so much, everyone, for attending this webinar. Thank you so much, Abhishek, Kiran, James, the 3 key person for this webinar, and our chairman, Mr. Florante. Thank you so much. And to the rest of the attendees, thank you also for being present in this webinar. I hope you got good knowledge about this webinar. Thank you so much, and have a nice day to everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
guys.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
guys.
Thank you. Thank
Looking
you.
forward for another webinar.
Yeah, we
Great
will give
job,
you
guys.
emails.
Coming up
We'll give you
very
email.
soon.